where legends go to die again. Chapter 1. The Invitation and the Crystal Throne. The palace on Edward Corday's private moon shimmered like a jewel in the void, its spires carved from Martian marble and glass. At its heart stood the crystal throne, a seat forged from fractured starlight and humming with temporal energy. Legends whispered that whoever claimed it would not only rewrite their own destiny, but command the flow of history itself. One by one, the guests arrived through shimmering portals. Alexander the Great, eyes blazing with ambition, already measuring the throne as if it were another city to conquer. Julius Caesar calculating, his mind racing with strategies to bend the throne's power into empire. Cleopatra, radiant and enigmatic, her smile concealing 1,000 schemes. Napoleon Bonaparte, restless, muttering that destiny had cheated him once and would not do so again. Genghis Khan, towering and feral, declaring that the throne would be his by right of conquest. Ashoka, calm yet resolute, wondering if the throne could be used to spread peace instead of war. Hatshepsut, regal, determined to prove that her erased legacy would shine brighter than any pharaoh's. Edward Corday, eccentric master of ceremonies, raised a glass of shimmering lunar wine. Welcome, sovereigns of time. Tonight you dine not merely for pleasure, but for eternity. The crystal throne awaits. Only one of you will sit upon it. Only one will reshape the past, the present, and the future. The obsidian table stretched endlessly, each seat marked with the crest of its guest. Yet all eyes were fixed on the throne, glowing faintly at the far end of the hall. The air thickened with rivalry. Alexander leaned toward Napoleon, whispering of alliances. Cleopatra's gaze lingered on Caesar, rekindling old flames of ambition. Genghis Khan slammed his fist against the table, declaring that no pact would stop him. The dinner had not yet begun, but the war for destiny already had. Chapter 2. The Palace of Glass and Shadow. The gold-bound iron doors sealed behind the guests, locking them into Edward Corday's lunar palace. Silence fell, broken only by the faint hum of the crystal throne at the far end of the hall. Its glow pulsed like a heartbeat, casting fractured light across the table. The palace itself seemed alive. Walls shifted subtly, corridors rearranged themselves, and the chandeliers above flickered with starlight harvested from dying suns. Every surface reflected ambition back at its owner. Edward raised his glass again, his smile sharp as a blade. Now that you are gathered, the contest begins. The throne will not yield to mere desire. It will test you, it will demand sacrifice, and it will devour the unworthy. The leaders leaned forward, tension thickening the air. Napoleon's fingers drummed against the table, already plotting how to seize the throne's power through strategy. Cleopatra's eyes lingered on Caesar, her smile promising alliance but concealing betrayal. Genghis Khan growled, unimpressed by riddles, declaring that conquest would be simple. I take what I want. Ashoka and Hatshepsut exchanged a glance, quiet but resolute, wondering if peace could survive in a hall built for war. The table was laden with food that shimmered unnaturally, fruits that glowed, wines that burned like fire, meats that seemed to breathe. Yet no one touched a bite. The throne's hum grew louder, as if sensing their hunger for power. Shadows lengthened across the walls, twisting into shapes that resembled armies, crowns, and guillotines. The dinner had not yet begun, but the palace itself was already choosing sides. Chapter 3. Clash of Titans. The crystal throne pulsed at the far end of the hall, its light flickering across their faces, amplifying ambition. Alexander the Great leaned forward, his voice sharp. History is mine already. This throne is but another conquest. I will sit upon it, and the world will never forget my name. Napoleon Bonaparte scoffed, tapping his fingers against the table. You speak of conquest, Alexander, but you squandered your empire in youth. I built mine in the face of nations united against me. The throne belongs to the strategist, not the dreamer. Genghis Khan slammed his fist down, rattling goblets. Words are wind. I take what I want. The throne will be mine, and all of you will kneel before me. Cleopatra smiled, her voice dripping honey. Men always speak of conquest, yet forget the power of persuasion. The throne will not yield to brute force. It will yield to charm, to vision, to a ruler who understands the hearts of people. Her eyes lingered on Caesar, rekindling old fire. Julius Caesar raised his goblet, his tone measured. Charm and conquest both fail without order. The throne requires law, structure, discipline. Without me, it will devour you all. Ashoka spoke softly, yet his words carried weight. Perhaps the throne is not meant for war at all. Perhaps it is meant to heal, to spread peace across centuries. Must destiny always be rewritten in blood? Hatshepsut straightened, her crown gleaming. Peace is noble, Ashoka, but history erases those who do not fight for their place. I was erased once. I will not be erased again. The throne will restore what was stolen from me. The room erupted in overlapping voices, boasts, threats, promises. Alliances began to form in whispers. Cleopatra with Caesar, Alexander with Napoleon, Ashoka with Hatshepsut. Genghis Khan laughed at them all, declaring that no pact would save them. At the head of the table, Edward Corday watched with amusement. The palace walls shifted again, shadows twisting into armies and crowns. The crystal throne pulsed louder, as if feeding on their desire. The dinner had begun, and already the war for destiny was underway. Chapter 4. The Rules of the Game. The palace lights dimmed, and the hum of the crystal throne deepened into a low, resonant growl. Shadows stretched across the walls, forming shapes of crowns, armies, and executioners. The obsidian tables seemed to lengthen, pushing the guests farther apart, as if the palace itself wanted to keep them divided. Edward Corday rose from his seat at the head of the table, his silver robes catching the fractured starlight. He raised his glass, but this time his smile was gone. "You are not here to feast," he said, his voice echoing unnaturally. "You are here to be judged. The crystal throne does not yield to desire alone. It demands proof. It demands sacrifice. And it will consume those who falter." The leaders stiffened. Napoleon leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Sacrifice? Whose sacrifice? Mine or theirs?" He gestured toward his rivals. Edward's gaze flicked to him. "The throne decides. It will test each of you in ways only destiny can devise. Fail, and you will vanish into the ether, erased from this gathering, perhaps even from history itself." Cleopatra's smile faltered for the first time. "And if we succeed?" "Then," Edward said, "you will sit upon the throne. You will rewrite your destiny. You will command the flow of time itself." Genghis Khan laughed, slamming his fist against the table. "Then I will take the test now. Let the throne judge me." The throne pulsed brighter, as if answering his challenge. The air grew heavy, pressing down on them all. Ashoka spoke softly, his voice cutting through the tension. "Perhaps the throne is not a prize, but a trap. Perhaps it feeds on ambition." Edward's smile returned, thin and cruel. "You are beginning to understand." The leaders exchanged wary glances, alliances whispered before, now hardened into necessity. Cleopatra leaned closer to Caesar, whispering promises of shared rule. Alexander and Napoleon locked eyes, silently agreeing to strike together. Hatshepsut's hand brushed Ashoka's, a pact of peace in a hall of war. The crystal throne pulsed once more, louder than a heartbeat. The game had begun. Chapter 5. The First Disappearance. The obsidian table glittered with untouched food, but no one dared to eat. The air was heavy, charged with ambition and dread. The crystal throne pulsed brighter, its hum now a low growl that seemed to vibrate in their bones. Julius Caesar rose, goblet in hand, his voice commanding. "Let us toast to destiny. May the strongest among us claim the throne, and may history bend to our will." The others raised their glasses reluctantly, eyes darting across the table. Cleopatra's smile was sharp, Alexander's smirk defiant, Napoleon's gaze restless. Caesar drank deeply. For a moment, silence held. Then his body stiffened. His goblet slipped from his hand, shattering against the floor. His eyes widened in shock as his form began to dissolve, particles of light peeling away from him like smoke. "Caesar!" Cleopatra cried, reaching out, but her hand passed through him as though he were already gone. In seconds, Julius Caesar vanished completely, leaving only the echo of his voice and the shattered glass at his place. The room erupted. Cleopatra accused Alexander, her voice trembling with fury. Napoleon muttered that the throne had judged Caesar unworthy. Genghis Khan laughed, pounding the table. "The weak are devoured. The strong remain." Ashoka whispered, "The throne feeds on ambition. It will consume us all." Hatshepsut sat rigid, her eyes fixed on the empty chair, as if seeing her own erasure reflected there. Edward Corday raised his glass calmly, unfazed. "The first sacrifice has been made. The throne has spoken. Do not mourn him. He is not gone. He is simply unwritten." The word hung in the air like a curse. Unwritten. The leaders stared at one another, suspicion thickening. Alliances whispered in shadows, now hardened into necessity. Cleopatra leaned closer to Napoleon, her voice low and venomous. Alexander's hand tightened on his sword hilt. Genghis Khan grinned, eager for the next test. The palace groaned, its walls shifting again. The feast spoiled further, the air growing colder. The crystal throne pulsed once more, louder than a heartbeat. The game had claimed its first victim. Chapter 6. Secret Alliances. The shattered goblet at Caesar's empty seat gleamed like a warning. His absence hung over the table, a silence heavier than any war drum. The crystal throne pulsed faintly, as if savoring its first sacrifice. The leaders leaned into shadows, voices lowered, ambition sharpened. Cleopatra slipped closer to Napoleon, her tone honeyed but edged with steel. "Caesar is gone. His vision dies with him. But you, Napoleon, you understand empire. Align with me, and together we can charm the throne into submission." Napoleon smirked, though his eyes flicked toward Alexander. "Charm is fleeting. Strategy endures. Still, perhaps your beauty is a weapon worth wielding." Across the table, Alexander the Great whispered to Napoleon when Cleopatra turned away. "Do not trust her. She will betray you as she betrayed Caesar. Stand with me and we will seize the throne by force." Napoleon's smile widened. "Perhaps I will stand with both of you until one proves more useful." In the far corner, Ashoka and Hatshepsut spoke softly, their voices almost drowned by the hum of the throne. "This is madness," Ashoka said. "The throne feeds on ambition. It will consume us all." Hatshepsut's gaze was steady. "Then let us resist it. If peace cannot win, perhaps unity can. Together, we may survive." Genghis Khan laughed, overhearing them. His voice boomed across the hall. "Peace? Unity? Weakness. The throne will bow to strength. I will take it, and the rest of you will vanish like Caesar." The palace groaned, its walls shifting again. Doors slammed shut, corridors twisted into labyrinths, the feast before them spoiled in an instant. Fruits rotted, wines curdled, meats turned to ash. Edward Corday watched from the head of the table, his smile unreadable. Whisper your alliances, forge your betrayals. The throne listens, the throne decides. The leaders fell silent, each calculating, each plotting. The crystal throne pulsed louder, as if feeding on their schemes. The game was no longer about survival. It was about betrayal. Chapter 7. The moon turns hostile. The palace groaned as though alive, its walls shifting into jagged angles. Chandeliers flickered with dying starlight, casting shadows that twisted into monstrous shapes. The obsidian floor rippled beneath their feet, as if the moon itself were breathing. The guests rose from the table, unease spreading like a contagion. Alexander the Great drew his sword, its blade gleaming in the fractured light. This palace is no banquet hall, it is a battlefield. The throne tests us already. Napoleon sneered. Then let us fight. Better to strike first than wait to be devoured. Ashoka shook his head. Violence will only feed the throne. It listens to our cravings, our rage. The more we fight, the stronger it becomes. Genghis Khan laughed, his voice echoing through the shifting corridors. Then I will feed it until it bursts. Let the throne choke on my conquests. The walls twisted again, sealing doors, reshaping corridors into a labyrinth. The leaders stumbled as the floor tilted, forcing them toward the throne's glow. Suddenly, a scream tore through the hall. Alexander staggered, his sword clattering to the floor. His body shimmered, dissolving into particles of light. His war cry echoed one last time before vanishing into silence. "Alexander!" Napoleon shouted, lunging forward, but his hands grasped only air. The throne pulsed brighter, its hum now deafening. Cleopatra's eyes narrowed. The throne is choosing. It devours the bold first. Who will be next? Hatshepsut whispered, her voice trembling. We are not guests. We are sacrifices. Edward Corday remained seated, calm amid the chaos. His smile was thin, almost amused. The throne has judged again. Do not resist. Each disappearance is destiny correcting itself. The survivors exchanged wary glances. Alliances hardened, betrayals sharpened. Cleopatra leaned closer to Genghis Khan, whispering promises of shared rule. Napoleon's hand hovered near his dagger. Ashoka and Hatshepsut clung to one another, their pact of peace fragile in the storm. The palace groaned louder, its walls closing in. The crystal throne pulsed like a predator's heartbeat. The game was no longer about ambition. It was survival. Chapter 8. Betrayal at the Table. The obsidian table was littered with untouched platters, their contents rotting into ash. The air was thick with suspicion, every glance a dagger, every whisper a plot. The crystal throne pulsed brighter, its hum now a steady drumbeat of hunger. Napoleon Bonaparte leaned forward, his eyes fixed on Genghis Khan. You boast of strength, Khan, but brute force cannot win this game. Strategy will, and strategy requires removing obstacles. Genghis Khan laughed, his voice booming across the hall. Obstacles? You are the obstacle, little emperor. I conquered continents while you lost yours to snow and pride. Napoleon's hand trembled as he lifted his goblet. He had laced the wine with poison, a silent strike meant to erase the Khan before the throne could judge him. He raised it high, masking his intent with a toast. To destiny, he said, his smile thin. But Genghis Khan's eyes narrowed. He snatched the goblet from Napoleon's hand with brutal speed. To conquest, he growled, and forced the drink to Napoleon's lips. Napoleon gagged, choking, his body convulsing as the poison burned through him. His form shimmered, dissolving into particles of light. His scream echoed once, then vanished into silence. The throne pulsed brighter, as if savoring the betrayal. Cleopatra's smile widened, her eyes gleaming. So the strategist falls to his own scheme. How fitting, Ashoka whispered, horrified. The throne feeds on treachery. It will consume us all. Hatshepsut's gaze hardened. Then we must resist it, or we will vanish one by one. Genghis Khan slammed the goblet down, laughing. Let the throne choke on betrayal. I remain. Edward Corday raised his glass, calm amid the chaos. The second sacrifice has been made. The throne is pleased. Continue, sovereigns. Continue until only one remains. The palace groaned, its walls closing tighter, shadows twisting into monstrous forms. The crystal throne pulsed louder, its glow bathing them all in fractured light. The feast had become a battlefield, the table a trap, and the throne a predator waiting for its final prey. Chapter 9. The Last Supper of Sovereigns. The obsidian table had grown shorter, its length shrinking as if the palace itself knew fewer guests remained. Only Cleopatra, Genghis Khan, Ashoka, and Hatshepsut sat in the fractured glow of the crystal throne, each one calculating, each one desperate. The feast before them was now grotesque, fruits oozing black ichor, wines bubbling like acid, meats twitching as though alive. None dared touch it. Cleopatra broke the silence first, her voice smooth as silk. 3 have vanished: Caesar, Alexander, Napoleon. The throne devours ambition, but it rewards cunning. I will not be next. Genghis Khan laughed, his teeth flashing. You speak of cunning, but cunning dies with a single blade. I will take the throne by strength, and the world will tremble before me. Ashoka leaned forward, his tone calm but firm. Strength and cunning both fail if the throne is a trap. It feeds on our hunger. Perhaps the only way to win is to refuse it. Hatshepsut's eyes gleamed, her voice steady. Refusal is erasure. I was erased once, Ashoka. I will not be erased again. The throne will restore me, and history will remember my name. The throne pulsed louder, its glow bathing them in fractured light. Shadows twisted across the walls, forming armies, crowns, and guillotines. Suddenly the palace groaned. The floor rippled, and Genghis Khan staggered. His laughter turned to a roar as his body shimmered, dissolving into particles of light. His war cry echoed once, then vanished into silence. Cleopatra's smile widened. The throne has chosen. The strong fall first. The clever endure. Ashoka shook his head. No, Cleopatra. The throne is not choosing. It is consuming. The throne pulsed again, brighter, hungrier. Hatshepsut gasped, her form flickering. She reached for Ashoka's hand, but her body dissolved into light, her crown tumbling to the floor before vanishing. Only Cleopatra and Ashoka remained. Cleopatra leaned close, her voice low and venomous. Peace will not save you, Ashoka. The throne craves ambition, and I will give it everything. Ashoka closed his eyes, whispering, Then you will be its final victim. The throne pulsed once more, louder than a heartbeat. Shadows closed in, the palace trembling. The Last Supper of Sovereigns had begun its final course. Chapter 10. The Twist. The palace trembled, its walls closing in like the jaws of a predator. The crystal throne pulsed brighter than ever, its fractured light bathing the hall in a glow that felt less like illumination and more like judgment. Only Cleopatra and Ashoka remained. Cleopatra rose, her jewels catching the throne's glow, her voice triumphant. Empires have fallen tonight. Caesar, Alexander, Napoleon, Genghis Khan, Hatshepsut, all erased. Yet I endure. The throne has chosen me. She stepped toward the throne, her movements regal, her smile sharp. Ashoka watched silently, his calm unbroken. You mistake survival for victory, he said softly. The throne does not choose, it consumes. You will not rewrite destiny, you will be trapped by it. Cleopatra laughed, dismissing him. Peaceful words from a man who never understood ambition. History belongs to those who seize it. She placed her hands upon the crystal throne. Its surface shimmered, alive with power. For a moment her body blazed with light, her face radiant with triumph. She sat upon it, her voice ringing out, "I am eternal. I am destiny." Ashoka bowed his head, whispering, "You will destroy yourself, and your destiny will die here." Then he vanished, but the throne's glow shifted. The light turned harsh, binding Cleopatra in place. Her smile faltered as invisible chains wrapped around her form. She tried to rise, but the throne held her fast. Edward Corday's voice echoed across the hall, calm and cruel. The final rule: the last survivor does not rewrite history. They become its prisoner. The throne does not grant freedom. It demands guardianship. Cleopatra, you are now its eternal keeper. Cleopatra screamed, her voice reverberating through the palace. Her body shimmered, not dissolving like the others, but fusing with the throne itself. Her eyes glowed, her face frozen in rage and despair. The palace fell silent, the obsidian walls stilled, the feast rotted into dust, and the throne's hum quieted. Cleopatra remained, bound forever, her eternal rage echoing in the void. Edward raised his glass one final time. The dinner party is concluded. History remains unchanged, but the throne hungers still, and soon I will summon new guests. The palace drifted in silence, orbiting Earth like a ghost. The crystal throne pulsed faintly, its new prisoner glaring out across eternity. Epilogue: The Hunger of the Throne. The palace drifted silently in lunar orbit, its spires gleaming faintly against the black void. Inside, the crystal throne pulsed with a dim, steady glow. Cleopatra sat fused to it, her eyes burning with eternal rage, her voice echoing faintly through the halls like a curse. Edward Corday walked the length of the obsidian table, now stripped bare. He traced a finger along the cracked surface, smiling to himself. "Ambition devours itself," he murmured, "and yet there is always more to feed the throne." He turned toward the vast windows overlooking Earth. The planet shimmered below, alive with billions of souls, each one a potential guest. "History is endless," Edward whispered, "and so is my dinner party." He raised his glass, the liquid inside glowing faintly with stolen starlight. "Soon I will summon new contenders, not kings and queens of the past, but visionaries of the present, and perhaps even legends yet to be born." The palace groaned, its walls shifting once more, preparing itself for another gathering. The throne pulsed brighter, as if anticipating fresh ambition. Cleopatra's voice rang out, distorted and eternal. "You will never escape me, Edward Corday. I am destiny. I am the throne." Edward only smiled. "Then you will watch as destiny is rewritten again and again." The palace drifted onward, a ghostly arc in the void, waiting for its next feast. The end. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.